older people 10 years ago, 15, 20 years ago, when we were having these conversations, are completely different than older people that grew up with this technology evolving. What I'm looking at is not the comfort, I'm looking at the money they have to spend.
If Andrew Huberman recommends a creatine, the interest in buying that goes up like 40x. If like a really famous like health influencer that I like respect has launched a new creatine product, even though it can literally be like the exact same and it's 1.5 times more expensive, but he went on a podcast and said, this is the creatine I recommend, or this is my creatine, like I'm buying.
I think the younger the generation, the more convertible they are by influence and influencers.
Interesting.
Like, I think it's a direct correlation. The younger they are, the easier they are to convert through the traditional influencers.
Generationally, there's different buying behaviors, and this all goes down to like an ICP, right? Like I've identified my ideal customer profile. If I want to sell to this, I need to cater to them, which is why, one of the things I always laugh at is like, a website can be really ugly and it'll still convert really well and it'll still do really well. And you'll be like, that's so ugly, but that's through our lens that we're seeing it really well. But through their lens, it might be good. There's Gen Z brands that I look at their website and my eyes cross and I'm just like confused. Why would anyone buy from this? Just like you probably see websites, oh my God, that looks so old, right?
Yeah, it's interesting.
But that oldness is what sells. It's generational in the way that they think about things. What's up, guys? You guys good?
Tell you what, we're good.
I thought you were going to tell me something. What?
No.
I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
Sean, what's good, buddy?
I'm doing well, dude.
Are you from Florida?
No, I'm from like Boston, and then like moved to New York last year.
What's your sister is here?
Yeah, my sister's here.
Did she move from New York?
She moved from Boston as well.
Okay.
And then we'll probably move back in like 3 years. But
does she know she's moving back?
I think so.
Oh, okay. Or are you just projecting?
I think she wants to move back.
Okay. She don't like the Florida life?
Like she likes it, but I don't know. Like I think she likes the vibe of like suburban Mass.
Okay.
The best.
Oh, interesting.
It's definitely different than down here.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
I don't know. Living suburban Mass is really a great experience. I don't know. That might be up there with Chicago.
A lot of minivans.
Yeah, a lot of minivans. It's true. I figured Florida is the free country. Like a lot of East Coasters made. Did she make the move during COVID?
So her husband is an oral surgeon, so his residency is in Florida. So after his residency ends, they'll likely move back.
They can move back to wherever they want. I bet you the money's better in Boston than Florida.
Yeah, that's also the reason.
Yeah, okay. That makes more sense.
Yeah,
that'll do it.
It's like I love it way more in Massachusetts, because you're making $1 billion.
Yeah, an oral surgeon. That sounds like some
oral. I was going to be an oral surgeon.
No, you weren't.
Then you were a Division III athlete. And
it was a dual major, though, 2 bachelors.
2 bachelors.
You guys knew that, right?
No, what were the 2 majors?
Physical education and health education.
Okay.
Not the same thing.
So I was going to be a PE teacher and
you would be a terrible health teacher.
No, dude, you can talk about sex ed.
I could see you being a good PE. You'd be the cool PE teacher.
Dude, I was the #1 rated PE teacher at Springfield College.
Number one. How many
were
PE
there?
teachers are there?
So that 3. I just completely made that. I made that ranking up.
Because you were the only PE teacher.
No, that's a PE teacher capital of the world.
Yeah, but how many were there at the college?
Oh, in our program, like 1,800 maybe.
Oh, you were number 1.
No, I told her I just made that up.
But you were still number 1.
I was number 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a Division III athlete.
And a Division III athlete, which a lot of people don't talk about enough.
No.
You think about it, no one talks about it.
But you didn't go
John
pro.
Cena talks about it a little bit.
Yeah, I rap battle John Cena.
Oh, wow.
I'll show you the video after.
It's a good video.
D3 athletes can get athletic scholarship, right?
No, but they give you like grants and they can give you like...
But is that because you guys are not athletic enough, or?
No, it's the school.
Oh, zing.
No, but I mean, they give us some, like, if, for instance, like, if I went in there freshman year with like a jean button-up long sleeve on and my fiance's shoes, they'd be like, we're not giving them a dime.
Hey,
with that,
you excited to be here?
All right,
yeah.
Jimmy, let's do this.
Let's do this thing. All right, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to the ASOM Pod, where we talk a lot. E-com is the path that we walk a lot. From 4 point of views when we're talking shop. Amir from the agency and Jimmy from SAS. John has an Android, but give him a pass, cause he's an operator building brands like a carpenter. And that's Brian, he is the marketer. Like I said, this the ASOM Pod, where we talk a lot. E-com is the path that we walk a lot. From 4 point of views when we're talking shop.
What is up, everyone? Welcome to the ASOM Pod, a show about perspective from the eyes of an agency, operator, SaaS, and marketer. I said that backwards. Focused on the D2C, e-commerce, and retail space. All right, going around this room, there's notes that's just being flung up in here, so I'm gonna go ahead and just read them because it's hilarious. But
every time he says something, he just adds something for you.
John Roman, Android loving survival king. What's up, dude? You feeling good?
Yeah, loving it.
Are we doing some huff and puff or what?
Oh, I hope so.
Yeah, we need to do it. There are.
So I've been saying it's a 30% chance that we are gonna go 100%.
Probably tonight.
30% chance we're going by 100%.
We'll go tonight.
We'll find a time. We got Emir Grasinic, Prince of Bosnia, Mayor of Chicago, Mayor of Motivation. I mean, this guy just thinks he's got titles after title. Maybe we should pull back his titles. What do you think, Brian?
You guys are giving me the titles. I didn't put the titles.
He's embracing him, though. That's
I love how if you go back 40 episodes and his response towards the Prince of Bosnia versus now, it's
you can't fight it anymore.
You've embraced
no,
it.
you can't fight destiny.
All right. Well,
True.
we got Brian McDonald, future king of Bosnia, self-proclaimed funniest dude on LinkedIn. Oh, we're not gonna write what you wrote. You wrote some vulgar stuff here.
Read
it.
You know what I mean?
Read it.
The king of beep. That's what he wrote, but I can't really write that. I'm not trying to beep it out. That's a lot of work.
I love you.
All right. Today, guys, as you guys kind of heard, I want to introduce our special guest here, sitting in for the Gen Z. That's what you're here for.
Let's go.
Everywhere. We have Sean Aurora. Is it Aura? How do I say that?
Aurora.
What is it?
Aurora.
Aurora.
A-R-O-R-A.
Aurora.
Like
what's the background?
Indian.
Got it.
What part of India?
He's
Which one?
Punjab.
Where?
Up Punjab.
Oh, okay, cool.
Okay.
I know Surat, Mumbai,
Wow, let's go.
Gujarat.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
He's
nice.
the Kim Kardashian of eCommerce. What's up, dude?
Alright.
How are
Does
you?
that mean you made
We'll
like a
take it.
sex video?
I made a post on LinkedIn saying I'm the Kim Kardashian of SaaS.
Okay.
So I think that's probably.
Yeah. Who's RJ then?
I don't know. That's the Logan crazy one.
We're taking it the wrong way that he's trying to intend.
Tell us after.
I'll show you his video.
Yeah,
You
show
can
us. Yeah, show
We'll
us.
show each other videos.
Show us.
They're sharing videos here. My name is Jimmy Kim, the moderator, the brain, the man of the people, the email dude. And first and foremost, if you enjoy our hot takes, our rants, and different things, and you want to hear Amir go off, well, jump over to awesompod.com and sign up for our newsletter. Second, guess what? We're back in September. San Diego, September 22, 23, Commerce Roundtable, 600 people. We're on the water, great food, great talks, great networking. It's going to be quite an experience. CommerceRoundtable.com. Tickets are on sale from right now. We hope to see you there. All right, guys, today, the topic of today's pod is generational differences in online shopping and behavior. And I made this topic because I thought it was really interesting because over the last probably 40 pods, and this is something that we've kind of really started to talk about through it, is that we've started to realize that like generationally, each behavior of the generations are different in the channels that they're visiting. They're different in their buying behaviors, the way they like to buy, how Sean likes to buy versus how I like to buy. Like, I think I represent, because I'm on the cusp of a Gen Xer, essentially. You guys are a bunch of millennials, right? You're kind of with me on the cusp, right? So, like, John and I kind of sit on the old guy crew. You two with the balds, which is ironic, but the balds sit in the middle there at the millennial, and then we got the young guy full of hair over here on the young side of it. But we all have a different lens when it comes to how shopping happens, right? Where you and I, John, we are so ingrained with going to malls and buying stuff in physical retail, and online has been an adoption and change. And I'm sure you have friends like me that don't even do the online thing that much still, that aren't even like they're computer
Weird
literate.
things like I don't even typically end up buying on my phone. I end up completing my purchase on desktop.
Yes.
Like just a weird behavior.
Yeah, it's a weird behavior of us, and it's a trust behavior because we didn't grow up the same way. Where Sean, dude, that man's flinging things. He probably knew how to do the split screen thing that I did. That took me, we had to look up a YouTube video.
Jimmy and I had to look it up.
Yeah, it's so sad, right? But like, this is what happens. And, you know, one of the things I always joke about is as we get older, you know how we always used to look at our parents and be like, oh, God, why are they so technologically stupid? Why don't they get this? Why don't they get... Dude, we're getting there.
Yeah. So you know how you look at like people, you know, VHS, who uses VHS tapes and DVDs and all of that. We were talking our team this week, and we were like talking about my kid. When he grows up, he's not gonna know what Googling something is, because that's dying.
That's dying.
Like Googling won't exist when he's
they'll have a prompt.
Yeah.
He'll have a prompt. He'll be an AI person, whatever it is. I mean, dude, you're seeing schooling across seas, especially over in Asia. They're teaching AI now at 6 years old. They're making it part of the syllabus. Like, things are changing. And, you know, I actually think that it's an interesting thing, but I think the U.S. is far behind with their education system because they're still teaching
well, we know
shit
we
from
are.
20 years ago.
We know we're behind.
Right? And, you know, I'm not a big believer in it. I think the education's things. But let me ask, before we get into the first question, you know, one of the things that I've noticed that's been really interesting, and I'll kind of show you in my perspective, generationally, you also see it happen in so many places. Here's a very perfect example. Since I'm the email dude, I'll talk about it. You see the Hotmails and the Microsoft people versus the Yahoo people versus the Gmail people.
AOL.com people.
Yeah, exactly. AOL, this man's got an AOL.com address. And you're like, well, what happened? It's all generational because what was popular at the time is where you lean on and then you build habits around those things and then you almost become an identity. And I'm not saying that everybody doesn't evolutionize, right?
Yeah.
But the majority do. So let me ask you guys to start off. What generation is the hardest to convert online? Like, who do you guys think is the hardest to convert online?
Go. Yo, listen up, let me put you on game. OmniSend's got the tools and everything that they claim. Email, SMS, yes, all in one. E-com brands love it cause it gets work done. Yeah, 125K worldwide. Reviews so high, got them beaming with pride. And their stars are 4.8, no joke. Shopify bags, so you know it's dope. Automation so slick, like a self-driving whip. Bring them back with a click, never losing the grip. Easy migration, yeah, that's no stress. Support so strong, got me feeling real blessed. No sneaky fees, no surprise in sight. Ain't calling it alignment just to raise the price. So if growth is the goal and sales on your mind, OmniSend's got the tools, now go get what's mine. Hit OmniSend.com today and watch your brand take off, okay? Oh yeah, and tell them Awesome sent you.
Anyone have any guesses?
I think it's product specific.
It's product specific. Well, it doesn't matter then. Products range with product to the generation. Like,
yeah, I mean, I would say the older they are,
the boomers,
the tougher it is to convert them online.
Yeah,
I think.
So I would disagree with that because
Same here.
The older they are, people down in Jamaica are stealing their social security number.
Because they're easier.
You know what I mean? It's like, oh, you're gonna die if you don't send me $5,000. They're like,
I'll
send you $5,000.
That has nothing to do with getting someone to go through a checkout flow and purchase.
All right,
though.
John. But yeah, you're right.
Older people 10 years ago, 15, 20 years ago, when we were having these conversations, are completely different than older people that grew up with this technology evolving. Now, they may not be as advanced as we are, but they're more comfortable with completely.
I don't disagree, but you're saying that they're more comfortable than the younger generations on making a purchase?
No, so what I'm looking at is not the comfort. I'm looking at the money they have to spend.
That's not what the question was.
Who's
I know, but it's
to convert online?
Who's harder to
but
convert?
if you don't have money, you're going to be harder to convert online.
Sean, what do you think about this?
Yeah, I mean, my initial thought was same with him. Like, I think
Smart guy.
inherently, like, if you're younger, you probably, I guess not all the time, but you probably have less money on average.
Is it also because you're more skeptical?
Like you're saying the younger people?
The younger people.
I'm not really skeptical of
I would say
online shopping
say
whatsoever.
over trusting.
Yeah. Like, I think skepticism is pretty low in general for, like, younger people when online shopping because it's just, like, so innate.
So I think you're spot on. And that's why I said what I said, because I think that skepticism does exist the older you get.
Interesting. That's really interesting to think about. Okay, I want to go through it. Let's go through all the generations because I think it's really interesting because we can talk about how we're seeing these generations make decisions, right? So let's focus on that younger generation, Gen Z. They're roughly under 25 years old. Sean, you're under 25 right now, right? And then the millennials, which are supposed to be somewhere around 26 to 40 years old today, roughly, give or take, right? How do they how do they think differently? Like, let's break down three specifics and discuss this. Like, let's start with influencers and social commerce. This has been a rise, and we've talked about this generationally, like TikTok and Instagram Reels, right? And even Facebook, when you think about it, and user-generated content is different. How do you guys think about this when you guys see this generation react to that kind of advertising and that kind of method of buying? What do you guys think about that?
I got something. So I think when we're talking about just influencer relationships and how the different generations interact with them, I think the younger the generation, the more convertible they are by influence and influencers.
Interesting.
Like, I think it's a direct correlation. The younger they are, the easier they are to convert through the traditional influencer create.
Yeah, and that goes back to, we talked about this with Coachella tickets, the post I made in regards to the Gen Z, and I would say like a good 50 to 60% of the millennial population, like say under 35. Under 35 through Gen Z, your influencers and your social media stars are now the household name celebrity, where your older millennials and then Gen X and your boomers are still, Billy Joel, Jennifer Aniston, Ellen DeGeneres.
Celebrities versus influencers.
The celebrities versus influencers, but here's the difference. The newer version of celebrities are selling product more than when our parents grew up watching those celebrities, because they stayed in their lane with TV, movie, talk show, radio. There was very few celebrities 20, 30 years ago that had a brand that sold a product or service, where today they all sell something. And I think now that they're adapting to the new form of a celebrity, every new form of a celebrity is now selling something, which makes the Gen Z and younger millennial population more convertible. Because if like my dad, Billy Joel, huge Billy Joel guy, if Billy Joel back 40 years ago came out with socks, my dad would have spent his life savings on his socks. And I think that's the new version today.
Yeah, and I think the validation of that is, let's go down a further generation, so they don't have purchasing power at all. They're early
Gen
teenagers.
Alphas, the Gen Betas.
Yeah, ask them what they want to be when they grow up. You go back a couple generations, they wanted to be the celebrity or president or astronaut. Now they want to be an influencer.
Yeah. Well, my son wants to be a shark.
Well, that's because he wants to identify as a shark. Did you tell him that he could identify today?
God, that came out of left field.
The thing is, I just want to...
Mine wants to be a dinosaur.
Add something to what you're saying, though. I don't think necessarily what you're describing changed. What I think that it's changed, the companies that are interacting with celebrities or influencers, the model changed. Before, it was a popular thing to get a celebrity to wear your garment or whatever you're selling. Where now celebrities got smarter and they said, hey, I don't want to fix check. I want to sell you my likeness. You can license it, and I want 20, 30, 40% of whatever that you're going to sell, or I'm going to go to the next person and they're going to do it.
I don't think you're wrong. I think that's a piece, but I think there's other variables in the mix besides that.
This is a multiple,
It's not solely, you're right, but it's not solely
one spoke in the wheel.
So Sean, growing up, right? Like you obviously
How old are you, first of all?
24.
Yeah.
24. Wow, so you were born
2001.
Ooh.
Well, yeah. Doesn't that make you feel old? I graduated high school in
1990. What month? April 2001.
Yeah.
So you were just
April
a baby when 9/11 happened. Wow.
Oh, I'm 18th.
Oh, wow.
I graduated high school in 1999.
Wow.
Putting age in there, right? Like that's crazy. Wow. Basically, Sean could have been my kid if like I had a baby at 18. Isn't that wild?
Yeah, Asians never really have babies early, though.
Yeah, because we're smart. We wrap it up.
Exactly.
All right. Going back to this, though. Let's go back to the real stuff.
Just statistics.
Influencer and social commerce. Like, dude, how do you look at that? Like, you've now basically grown up over the years, like, buying through influencers. Like, if you compare that to a celebrity, which is where the other side of that thing is, right? Like, how do you look at that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty much the way in which like you shop for any commodity item is like based off whether or not an influencer created it or a celebrity like endorsed it. Like I think like just creatine, for example, right? Like it's a pretty commodity item. Like it's just the same thing in every single thing. But like if Andrew Huberman recommends a creatine, right? Like to me the interest in buying that goes up like 40x, right? Or like if like a really famous like health influencer that I like respect, has launched a new creatine product, even though it can literally be the exact same. Like the exact
you're
same,
going to get what he says.
Like the exact same, and it's 1.5 times more expensive. But he went on a podcast and said, this is the creatine I recommend, or this is my creatine. Like, I'm buying it.
That's so interesting.
Who do you trust more, influencers or celebrities?
Like, I guess what's the like exact different like?
So
a celebrity
great
like
point is like
we've gone through this multiple times.
Influencer, celebrity, creator, it's all melting together.
And I think now they're becoming celebrities.
They're all the same.
The way we call celebrities right now is like movie stars and pop singers and stuff like that. And maybe not younger ones, but like ones that were not starting on TikTok, but ones that were like more traditional,
music,
like
TV,
Swift,
or movie.
You know?
Yeah, it's hard, right? Because like most of the people who are influencers will then go into like music and acting, and then it's like it's like a weird blend of like like KSI, for example, started as like a YouTube guy, and then he made a song, and now the song went viral, and now he's like a artist, right? And it's like there's so many cases where that like that exists, and it's hard to like differentiate the influencer versus celebrity.
It's all amalgamated together now.
Yeah, because they're in a situation now where these celebrities that want to be in front of the camera, back 30 years ago, you had to go to your auditions, and if you didn't get a slot on a show and you didn't work your way up, you would never be noticed or seen. And now the people that had the same potential 30, 40, 50 years ago with the same skill set and personality can be famous at their home. So it's an easier path for that fame than it was 40, 50 years ago.
Pop up, it's Alia, driving down the lane. From Nike to Plunge, they're running the game. 900 brands, yeah, they know the name. Support so fire, puts others to shame. Real A/B tests with insights to match. Fast load times like a lightning patch. Book a demo now and don't miss the deal. Get 30 days free and a 20% steal. Big shout out to Alia, an app that is revolutionizing how brands turn website visitors into loyal customers. With some of the highest performing pop-ups in e-com, Alia is helping brands ditch traditional web forms and double down on education, personalization, and conversion. We highly recommend you check out Alia at alialearn.com today and let them know Awesome sent you.
Do you know the way I look at it? Celebrities traditionally, they had to build their credibility up over a long period of time. And then towards the middle or later parts of their career, they start to figure out, how do I brand myself so I don't lose this like influential credibility? Where I think influencers today, they build their brand first and they're like, how do I monetize it? Yeah. I think it's like complete opposite journeys.
Look at Matt Rife. Matt Rife, before TikTok came out, he would have been probably broke working at a grocery store. But TikTok is the reason why Matt Rife is who he is today.
Yeah.
Your Cat Williams of the world,
a
your
lot
Dave
of
Chappelle's
comedians
of the world, they don't like him because he never went through the grinding of doing your shows and, doing 400 shows a year and going to your comedy
But a lot
clubs.
of the new comedians now, that's the path.
That's the path.
Yeah,
Correct.
you get virality.
Yes. Yeah.
What about mobile mindset? I think what's interesting. So let's talk about you. I'm going to start with you, Sean, because again, we fall back into you. Like, your medium for getting online is mobile probably first, right? Before anything you do?
Yeah, for sure. And I think like most times when people are online shopping, it's again like due to like you're seeing something through an Instagram ad or an ad on TikTok, right? And then when TikTok creates like TikTok Shop, it just lives inside of the engine in which like you're already interacting with your entire life. And like nobody really looks at Instagram on their laptop. Like I guess some people do, but like you're looking at Instagram on your phone, like pretty much 95%.
Do you have people, friends that don't even have computers that just use their mobile phone for everything?
I think my friends all have laptops for like work and stuff, but like I guess if you don't have a job,
if you don't have a job that requires it,
then
there's really no need for it.
I have friends that don't have computers.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
They don't need them. They have no purpose for them. They go to the office, they use a computer there, and they go home and they shop on their phones.
That's so interesting. It's such a thing because like if you got to told us 10 years ago, 15 years ago that the mobile phone could do everything you need to do on a computer.
It's just as powerful, yeah.
Yeah, it's like wild, right? Or a tablet even, right? Yeah. Even a tablet when it comes down to it. And I'm going to move to the next part, which I think is really interesting, the value authenticity, right? Many argue that Gen Z and millennials prioritize brand ethics. This has been something that we've seen over the last maybe 10 years. Like growing up, no one told me if I saved the trees, if I bought this product and I'm going to save the trees, that I go make the decision to spend more to save trees. But brand and ethics now comes into the changed behavior where millennials and Gen Z will buy things based around ethics or loyalty around like what the mission is and different things like that.
Yeah.
Where's the importance you guys think about this stuff? Like, do you guys think it continues to be important? Do you think that it's because it's a value? Like, why does this become relevant?
I would love to ask you that. Do you shop based on that, or do your friends shop based on that?
Like, I think there's groups of people. So I think like some people care a lot about it at a younger age, and some people don't really care at all. There's groups of people. I think if you have it, it's additional, but I don't think you need it to be a successful brand. You know what I mean? Like I don't think every brand needs to do it to be successful. I think some brands can wrap everything in that like ethos of being like sustainable and like good for the world and live off that.
Yeah.
but not every brand needs to stress it because their product sometimes is just so good that some folks won't even really care.
Yeah. So when we were at Global Pet Expo, it's obviously, I told you guys, it's a massive show. We were in the natural pet section, like that's where we were walking around and hanging out with everyone. But then they had a section that was like 3 times bigger, and there must have been, I don't know, 5,000 or 6,000 people just in this one section, and it was the sustainability section, and it was brands, or it could be anywhere from a brand of food to a toys, accessories. It could be vendors that are selling raw materials, farms. And Adam and I were walking through and like talking to everyone, and every single one of those people we talked to were struggling. And the guy that runs Global Pet, we were talking to him, and he's like, the sustainability market got infiltrated so fast that everyone's trying to call themselves a sustainable brand or going after the green sector, right? Where they're just doing it to get that like clout of being fake in that regard. But then he also said on the consumer sentiment side of it in pet, not enough people care to move a needle right now. And he goes, no matter what the media tells you, and these are just statistics based off of what they see in the pet world, there's not enough people that truly care to make a purchase decision in order for you to go all in on that. And that's just like what we saw in the pet world.
So we did, we've been working this past quarter on a lot of our first party data. And we spoke to a lot of our customers as we're getting this data. And one of the questions was around this, as a deciding factor for your purchases. Do you have to align with the mission or, the mission or viewpoints of the brand. And now we have an older demographic, right? We're sweet spot's 35 to 55.
Yeah. You're like us, but males,
yeah.
Right?
So 20% said, no, it doesn't matter. I buy based on quality and the product and not because of that. 20% said it did matter. The other 60% said they take it into account, but it's not the main deciding factor. And when we looked at the data and really looked at how the question was framed, that 60%, it's no. They're just self-aware that they're supposed to care. So they say I care, but it's not like that. They don't care. Yeah. But I think when you do get down the generations, I think you do have a point. It's still sections, and it's probably not the same breakdown as the older ones. But I think you're right. There's the group and the segment that does. Then there's the segment that, if we're all publicly talking, they're going to say that, but they're not making the real purchase decision based on it.
Do you make decisions based on sustainability and different things?
But you're gonna prove the point right now.
Yeah.
That he might say, but he doesn't.
I probably should say I would, but I honestly don't.
Right. You're being honest.
Yeah.
Now, here's a question for you. If you had
He's so mad right now.
No, and I'll
he's
share
the
mine.
sustainability king, just so you know.
No, but if you had on the screen product A, product B, same price, same everything, one's sustainable and one's not, you would go probably with a sustainable one. Yeah. So I was probably saying the 60%, believe it or not. Yeah. But like, for example, Nothing You is a brand. They use recycled materials to create the shoes. One of my favorite brands. And when I was shopping for them, Converse at that time were like going for like $80, $90. They were super expensive, super popular. These shoes were 120. The brand new company came out. I compared them. I was like, you know what? I'll spend the extra $30 and get these shoes because it aligns with my values. Now, if the Converse, like now you can get them for $40, $50 and they're 150. That's
now
3 pairs of Converse. That becomes...
So price does make a difference.
It does influence it. Yeah, depending how drastic it is and what the quality of product. Now, these shoes I've had for 4 years. They're great. I'm going to keep buying them because the quality is there as well.
Could be your last pair.
Jesus.
Like I wouldn't keep buying them, is what I mean.
Look, Sean, you obviously...
Why don't you like them?
I don't know.
Sean, you
What's
deal
wrong
with
with them?
a lot of brands, like obviously like in your company.
Yeah.
Do you see this becoming a topic, like people trying to share their sustainability message or some kind of mission value message as something that they want to share on the hero and the pop-up?
Yeah, like we see some brands just really care about it and they believe it's a needle mover, and for them it probably is. But for some brands,
it's genuine.
and I think I've actually heard this before. I think I was hanging out with my this group of friends, and we were just like on some website, and they were like, oh yeah, they just do the sustainability because they know it helps their taxes.
Yeah.
Right. And like I think some people believe that about sustainability, and like I think if it comes across as like ingenuine, then you're just like, oh, like yeah. It's like it actually like can hurt your brand rep because they're just like, oh, like, and they just threw this thing in there to like try to fake an audience that they are sustainable when they might be doing for taxes.
Yeah.
And on the contrary, you have brands like Bombas that went, I think the human element is way more of a deciding factor than environmental based on what we've done to this great earth, right, Amir? The human side of it with Bombas, where you buy socks, every pair you buy, they donate a pair of socks.
Tom's did it first.
That has a way more driving factor than, I'd rather buy a pair of socks so you can give us socks than we go to CVS and be like, oh, do you want to donate, $1 to a toothless kid in Taiwan, right? Like, most likely I'm not going to.
We saw that at the
You
casino.
kind of know what I mean by that? Like, you
donated to a casino, not to a charity.
Yes.
Like, yes.
What charity is that? Toothless kid in Taiwan
CVS
charity.
and Walgreens, they make up these charities at checkout. But what I mean
you have
is,
to go through multiple prompts.
yes,
too.
it's like, dude, let me pay and get the hell
It's
out
wild.
of here. Yeah. But on the Bomba side of it, it's like, buy a pair of socks. We'll donate a pair of socks.
So do you guys not round up?
No.
Really?
We don't know where that money's going. You know
We
where
know
that
the
money's
sucker
going?
is in this room.
Depends on the charity. Some charities have really high ratings.
Oh, I round up. I don't round up there, but then when it hits my bank, it rounds up into an Acorns account.
Yeah,
for
but
me.
that's you making
I
money.
do that
Acorns
too. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I
but
round up for
I won't do
myself.
I won't do the made up charities.
No, I won't do it because it's.
He's talking about the charities.
Yeah.
I think
I'm
depending
not
on the
doing that.
charity, I will donate.
Do you know all the charities? Or
No,
you like,
if I know the charity, I will
Okay.
donate.
You know, speaking of rounding up charities that really grinds my gears, casinos now, post-COVID, because they don't give you the change
Yes.
back. So, like, I have, $102.85. It's going to keep that 85 cents. It's like, what charity do you want to give it to?
Well, no. Now
Forces me
they
to.
changed it. They'll say 85 cents. If you want your 85 cents, you need to print a ticket and take it to the cashier window.
Yeah, but
And
that's.
nobody wants to do that.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to do that.
You know,
They're
they probably
making
make a
millions
lot of money
dollars.
doing this.
So much money.
Yeah, that's true.
So smart. Well, all right. Let's flip gears because I feel like that we've kind of picked on Gen Z and picked on that younger group. Let's talk about the older crowd, Gen X, Boomers. Let's talk about how do you think they differ? Like, what's the big things? We already heard one, which was like, I like to go on desktop to make a purchase. That's a very Gen X-y type thing. I do the same stuff, so I'm not with you unless, and if you're on like some site, like a BigCommerce site, it's tremendously hard to do it online. On a mobile
but like,
phone.
so Amazon I'll do on my phone.
Yeah.
Amazon I'll do the
But
whole
that's
order.
trust, right? There's trust and security there, right?
And it's a great experience. It's super, super straightforward.
I have a good example. So for the older generation, my brother-in-law's in, I told you guys, pharmaceutical sales. And he was telling us over Easter some of his like big accounts, his big doctors, with the new drug that they just released. The like younger versus older patients of the doctors, they'll hear about the pharmaceutical drug. And I know there's this whole thing going on right now where it's like, do we want them to be able to advertise on TV, et cetera? But you'll have both of the same set of customers, just being different age groups, watching the same ad, okay? And one of the younger crews going to the doctor and said, hey, like before the doctor even recommends the drug, like, hey, would this work? Because they see that on like an ad setting and like go to it. And then the older demographic waits for the doctor to give the diagnosis and the prescription. And the younger group goes into the doctor saying, hey, my knee's messed up. Like, can I take Zoalis? I don't even know if that's a knee drug. I just kind of made that up. Can I take that for my knee? You think that would help? And
Say Cialis?
So they're the younger.
He's just making up.
Yeah, I'm just making up a name.
I think that's the.
But the
that's
older
the wrong
demographic that goes in, that's prescribed the medication, waits for the authority figure, and the same thing in pet. They get all of their nutrition advice and push on food from the vet, and the younger group is now able to utilize social media in a way where they're able to educate themselves, follow whoever they want to follow, and the older crew always goes to doctors.
But I think the younger what you're describing, I think you're 100% spot on. I think it's dangerous, right? Because there's you can go down the wrong rabbit hole online.
And that's why they want
that's
why they want to get rid of
misinformation.
pharmaceutical advertising on television, because
We're
that's
the
the effect
only
that it's
country
having.
that does it.
Yep, the only country in the world. But yeah, so that's what I just story that I heard.
No,
on,
it's a
on
great
Easter
example.
That kind of plays an effect into the age groups and what the
you
older
know,
people.
You know, another thing that's highlighted when online shopping behavior, which is really interesting, is customer support. They say that the older generation still wants to get on the phone call, right?
Yep.
They want to call.
I'm in that category. Sometimes I just know if I can talk to them instead of talking to a chat bot that's running a script, I can get the resolution faster.
Yeah. Well, and I see my dad and my stepmom and my mom on their phones, and their font is on like 70. So when they go on a website, right, like, they bought my dad and my stepmom last year bought a couch from, I think it was Raymore and Flanagan. And they had the connecting piece and the couches was like messed up. They needed to get it replaced. I'm like, oh, just like, let's fill it out. Let's go on their website. And I went on her phone. I go, I wouldn't even be able to use a chat on this phone because I opened it up and the thing is 100 font. So she's like, oh no, we just call them. We'll just call them. That's literally like to your point. That's what
it's kind of interesting, right? That's a big buying difference. So then we've got this whole generation of AI and all this stuff that's happening in chatbots. Like, I feel like it's going to be a tough issue for a brand like BattleBox, for example, because what are they going to do? You know what you and I do already? Get on a call that's automated. Operator, 000, right? We do that, but then we take someone like Sean. I bet you're fine just talking to a chatbot just to get through. Yeah.
So BattleBox doesn't have
because it pisses people
phone
off.
support. We don't,
because you guys are blowing off the
chat or email or social, but we do get pushback. There's no phone number. I can't find a phone number.
That's so interesting.
And it's like it's just not efficient anymore.
Yeah. I think it's interesting because I feel like one of the things that we've really started to realize is that generationally there's different buying behaviors, and this all goes down to like an ICP, right? Like I've identified my ideal customer profile. If I want to sell to this, I need to cater to them, which is why, one of the things I always laugh at is like, a website can be really ugly and it'll still convert really well and it'll still do really well. And you'll be like, that's so ugly, but that's through our lens that we're seeing it ugly. But through their lens, it might be good. There's Gen Z brands that I look at their website and my eyes cross and I'm just like confused. Why would anyone buy from this? Just like you probably see websites, oh my God, that looks so old, right?
Yeah, it's interesting.
But that oldness is what sells. It's generational in the way that they think about things. All right, I want to play a game, and I asked each of you guys to bring a business to share details about. And this is basically like talking about different ones. And I gave everybody a assignment around a generation so we can talk about different ones, and I think it'll be really interesting storytelling for all of us because we're going to talk about different brands at different levels, right? We got John over here struggling. I will start with John because we're going to start with the oldest. We're talking boomers. Let's talk about boomer brands, man.
Yeah, so I got a really good boomer brand. I actually have two, but they're very, very, very similar, and it's Walgreens and CVS. So, most brands are chasing Gen Z, right? And Walgreens and CVS basically leaned into utility for boomers. So think prescription refills, appointment scheduling, loyalty programs. These were all things that existed at the actual physical stores. And Walgreens and CVS for decades now, boomers have trusted them, right? They're a trusted store to go to. And it's because of the decades of in-person shopping. And, fast forward COVID, nobody could, leave the house for a period of time. And that was where Walgreens and CVS really, 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 what they did was impressive. So their apps, their website, go to their website. You're going to look at it. Both of their sites are very similar. And it's just, you're like, this isn't really anything special to your point, though, of the lens I'm looking in it for someone else. But it prioritizes simplicity, Brian's favorite, large fonts, clear buttons, step-by-step flows that reduce friction for less tech-savvy users. So they built these habit loops around the real needs, the autofill reminders, vaccine scheduling, personalized discounts, and it's all pushing to this generation, the boomer generation, getting them to use the app and the website. So they owned who they're, instead of chasing the younger generation, they just own the boomer generation. And the takeaway here is that the adoption for the older customers skyrocketed for both. Like no one has a better adoption for that generation. It
makes sense.
Both of them though just completely crush it. They didn't try to become cool; they became essential, and in doing so, they turned convenience into conversion at scale.
It makes sense. A lot of this stuff makes sense. I mean, who needs medicine or who needs a pharmacy more than anyone? The older generation does.
But they also have other stuff besides that.
Yeah, but that's probably their bread and butter.
But that's how they get them sticky.
Interesting. Good takeaway. Amer, we go into the millennial brands, and you've been preparing something for the millennials.
I've never heard of this one.
They started about 2002, and it took them a while to get going. They were founded actually by a guy, and similar to a lot of entrepreneurial stories we talk about. He was a clarinetist. He was a musician, and he developed this passion for coffee and just wanted to do this as a hobby, and it ended up blowing up as a big brand. Kind of a lot of stories that we learn about, but what they had is a very minimalistic storefront, very hyper curated coffee aesthetic, and it was almost like an anti-Starbucks. And they started in Washington as well. And what ended up happening is they blew up around 2010, 2012, about 10 years later, and they got acquired by Nestle for about $700 million. And they're still doing really well. Nestle has repurposed them for in different ways. Yeah, they still very impactful in the business. Now, they're not all over the States, so that's why they're known a little bit less, but still a very significant brand.
$750 million in revenue.
Yeah.
It's not a small number.
Yeah, so Nestle didn't kill them. They actually scaled them. They still have the founder on board, and he's an advisor and everything. He's to a degree founder-led, but under Nestle's distribution. So, but they grew up being pushed from 2000 to 2010 by Millennials. 2012 on a private level was their peak, and then they got acquired.
I know about Blue Bottle because it's in the Bay, Silicon Valley. There's a ton of Blue Bottles. That's the only way I knew about Blue Bottle. And I remember going to the first one and be like, what is this? They're like, it's like Starbucks, but it's like cooler. And I was like, okay. And it's like a tech hub. It's really interesting how they kind of operate that. All right, let's jump to a different coffee company. You want to go Gen Z. Brian's going to talk about Gen Z, and then Sean will talk about a Gen Z brand.
Yeah, so I think this goes to the point earlier where I discussed how like Gen Z social influencers and social media stars, creators are now developing their own brand, right? So Emma Chamberlain, is a Gen Z YouTube star and an icon in the Gen Z, especially female community, and she started Chamberlain Coffee, right? So it's like single-serve coffee bags, cold brew options. They have matcha and tea, subscription-focused. All the merchandise items like your tumblers and your whisks and your mugs and tote bags that the Gen Z community likes, they crush on TikTok Shop. Absolutely crush, but their direct-to-consumer model works as well. They're on Shopify. Everything is very hyper Gen Z focused on the website when you go on it. And then the founding story of her bringing an audience over to a product and that demographic or that age range of folks following her journey because of what she put out there on YouTube and on TikTok, and then following her over to the product. Now, I don't know if the product's good. I've never tried it, but the actual story is why I shared this, is because that's the ultimate vision and dream now of all these Gen Z folks, especially the younger millennials as well, is you can take a following and turn it into a profitable business at scale, and that's what she's doing with Chamberlain Coffee.
What do you attribute her success to? Is it really because she had distribution before?
Distribution, yeah. And I literally wrote down on top of the notes up here, you say it all the time, but distribution is king, right? Distribution is everything. And I think it's a lot easier now to build distribution off of your own personal assets or your own personal skill set, whether that's knowledge of email, whether that's being humorous, whether that's being funny, you're just acting how you normally act and putting it out there. But the distribution model to attain a following is so easy. Once you have it, now you can take that following and actually turn it into an actual business. And that's never been able to happen before.
It's interesting. Never actually knew much about Chamberlain. I know the brand, but I didn't know much about their background. I didn't know it was a Gen Z YouTube brand.
Yeah, they're crushing though.
Crushing, yeah.
Yeah, crushing, yeah.
Yeah. Do you guys work with them?
Not yet.
You should, yeah. Hit her up.
I like that answer. Not yet.
Yeah, great answer.
Yeah.
I heard you on the ASOM Pod. And I'd be like, but weren't you sitting next to them? Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, don't worry about it. Sean, as the guest here today, but we did ask you to bring a brand that you enjoyed and something that leans into Gen Z, and to tell us a little story about them and tell us why you think they're doing so well.
Yeah, I have a really interesting one actually. It's called Tabs Chocolate. Have you guys heard of it? Tabs Chocolate.
Oh yeah.
Tabs Chocolate. Yeah, Oliver, whatever. Yeah.
So like it's sex chocolate, essentially like an aphrodisiac. Like dark chocolate typically is an aphrodisiac, and they're like really like let into that.
Crazy marketing.
Yeah, crazy marketing. And like their marketing is like probably some of the most genius marketing I've seen. Like so essentially how they did it initially was like the Andrew Tate model, how Andrew Tate does his marketing. Essentially like they made like 100+ TikTok accounts and then posted like every single day videos on those accounts. Like just advertising tabs.
Their TikTok is a great
Yeah.
study.
So like yeah, they crushed that, right? And then the founders exited the business at some point. Not like and then now their current marketing strategy is still through TikTok, but it's like fake UGC TikTok videos that blow up. So like one of them I saw recently was like a street interview. It was like in Miami, I think. It was like this like guy who does one of the street interviews, and then this girl essentially like she's like at the beach and stuff, whatever, and then he like brings out the chocolate. She's like, oh my god, like I'm gonna go trust my boyfriend right now, right? So like that's like one example how they do it, and then like this really other interesting video they had is essentially like how I got kicked off a flight, and it was like a video of like this guy and like his girlfriend, and they like had the Tabs chocolate, and then like went in the bathroom of the plane, right?
Yeah.
And like they got kicked out of the plane, whatever. And like I'm not sure like how real that is, and like it was essentially like around how like Tabs chocolate will make you like super interested in having sex with your partner.
Yeah.
So it's like very, very like interesting marketing schemes that look like UGC and like very like trendy videos, like street interviews, stuff like that. And then it's like product placement there.
Huh.
And then they start in the beginning by having like 100+ TikTok channels, just like running videos.
Yeah, they leaned into the place where they knew it would cause.
Yeah.
Yeah, the multi TikTok account, like that was like the secret sauce to build on TikTok for.
Yeah, it was the early day, right? And then there's also big influencers that call them like, what do they call them? Posters or clippers? Clippers.
Yeah,
that's what they call this term.
Yeah.
Have you heard that before,
No.
Brian?
There's a ton of money.
Yeah, they'll go to people and be like, you can be like, there was a video I saw that guy sketch, and he's like talking to some guy at like a fast food joint. He's like, you want to be a clipper? And he's like, my top clipper makes $30,000 a month. And I was like, what is a clipper? So I went and go and research it. It took me forever to research it because it's such a generic word. Turns out what it is you take my videos and you clip them up and make shorts your way you want it to, and you run ads, run like posts, and like based on impressions, I'll pay you.
Yeah, exactly. Like so, Andrew Tate got famous with that model too.
Yeah.
His like he has his own program where he does. It's called like Hustlers University, in which the students will essentially take his long form videos, clip them, make like 20 TikTok accounts, and then post those videos every day. And then he'll pay them based off of impressions.
Impressions,
as well.
yeah. How many impressions?
And obviously now he's at like hundreds of millions of followers. But he got huge through that model. And I met this guy who runs that exact playbook for brands. He has like 300 phones in his house, like always running, and he's like he's making that an operation for brands that want to do that, like 200 accounts on TikTok.
Yeah.
Like he made a company for that, which is pretty interesting.
That sounds very unscalable.
It is unscalable.
Yeah. Imagine having.
That's why it works.
Imagine having 300 phones in this room right now.
It was wild. I went to his house. It was crazy.
Yeah, but I'm just saying,
It's like
imagine.
scrolling and like, like, yo, this is crazy.
Yeah.
But also, like, as a brand, I would probably have a pretty high willingness to pay because of the fact that I would never want to do that with my time.
Yeah.
So if you want to pay someone to like get 300 phones and make TikTok accounts, like
That
you
makes
might pay a
sense.
decent amount of cash for that.
But back to the dark chocolate thing. That's supposed to make you,
Yeah, more horny. Like in general, it's an aphrodisiac.
hey babe, I think the dark chocolate you eat's broken.
Dark chocolate. We need more dark. You don't need any more babies, bro. We call you Pull Out Brian for a reason. It's important you stay true to this. All right. I want to ask this next question because I think it's interesting. So we've heard all this stuff around like different companies, different brands, different generations. How does Walmart or Amazon play into all this? How do you think about Amazon? I want to start there. Do you shop at Amazon or do you prefer to go to a brand?
I prefer Amazon, but maybe I'm not in the majority there, at least at my age.
Yeah.
I prefer Amazon just because it's typically like cheaper for products.
Sure.
So
is there a
for me,
trust
that's
factor there?
important.
Do you have a
Yeah,
higher
yeah.
trust factor? And
The
when
tr-
you say you're
for
not
me-
typical, do you say that you see other friends that won't shop there, or like do they care? Or
I think I think people tend to shop more maybe on D2C. Actually, honestly, I don't know the data, but I tend to shop more on Amazon because it's better deals, and maybe people my age do that because like lower willingness to pay for.
What about you guys? Everyone, Amazon more favorite?
Yeah, definitely Amazon.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
definitely lean on Amazon. I do it because of the shipping times.
Shipping time and experience. I know if something goes sideways, like they're gonna make it right at the expense of the vendor.
Most of the things I order on Amazon, I can have same day because I live in a wonderful city that, you know.
Where's that? Chicago?
Yeah.
I've heard of it.
Packages get stolen off the porch.
Never.
Yeah, you don't have porch pirates?
No. We take care of it.
Let's talk about this one last time. Generationally, right? When we're thinking about multiple what kind of advice can you give people, brands that are marketing to multiple generations? What would be a unique advice that we can give people? You guys have any ideas? Like, what would you do? I'll start with you, Sean. Like, you know, you guys deal at your company, Alia, right? You guys are dealing with multiple companies that are doing very large, broad things. Like, you know, when you advise your clients, because you guys do a lot of white glove stuff with your clients, like, what do you advise them to make sure that they're tapping into all the generations? Because I'm sure you look at something, right? They bring you their old one, and you're like, I don't know if I like that so much. And you're obviously, you guys do a hi-fi design for them, and you're like, how do we make it better for them? What do you guys think about, man?
I have a pretty interesting case study here. It's like hostage tape. You guys know hostage?
Yeah, hostage tape, yeah.
So like they have two main markets, right? One is people who their wives are mad at them because they snore a lot in bed. So then they wear the tape and it like makes them not snore anymore. The second is actually younger people like my age who care about biohacking and want to get better sleep and also not breathe through their mouth during sleep for jawline, right? So there's like those are two pretty different groups of people, but both groups seems like buy the product and like on subscription, you know, obviously
Wildly different demographic.
right? And like what they can do is number one, like segment customers through a pop-up or like another like tool where you can gather zero-party data and be like, why are you shopping, right? And if the answer is like the answer like my wife hates my snoring, or like I want a better jawline, or I care about my sleep because you know, like you can like ask those questions, and like if the answer is because my wife hates when I snore, like probably a pretty good indication that they're not in the like 25 and under group. And maybe they should get different marketing in the retention.
So the messaging changes?
Yeah, messaging changes.
Wow, that's really smart.
So I think like that's one way to do it. Once they arrive on the site, right? Because like they could be coming from different ads or because of different reasons. So when they come to the site, at least you can like qualify them.
So that's actually really great advice. So it's like, hey, make sure that you can qualify your traffic if you're talking to multiple generations and route them to different places.
Yeah.
That's a great way to think about it. I mean, you guys could potentially put like, are you here for dogs or cats?
Yeah.
Display a different website. Can you get on that, Amer?
No, because I actually hate that idea.
Whoa.
Why do you hate
God,
Because 1% of their revenue, if not less, is from cats. So
So he's saying you shouldn't sell cat stuff anymore.
I agree.
my feedback on the questionnaire was that the cats shouldn't even be.
The only thing that holds back a little bit, it's like cats are 800 times less expensive to feed, but 60% of dog owners in the U.S. have a cat.
Oh, that's interesting.
Interesting. And they're more probably open.
Wow, that's a high number.
That's high.
That's crazy.
I didn't know that. I
60%
figured that would be
dog owners.
dogs.
Yeah,
What's the inverse of that? Percent of cat owners that have a dog.
it's a good question.
That's
It's a great question.
All right. What
Yeah.
other advice? What other advice for multi-generational brands?
Yeah, so we just we actually started this. The data that we do have based off of questionnaires that we've sent out and post purchase of age range, right? So we're able to I took over like, hey, we have to find out exactly what our ICP is, and the emails that like you're on. We started doing 4 or 5 weeks ago is segmenting just to test it and posting a lot of Nina's videos where she's front facing camera and she does her wacky videos and include those, embed those in the emails. And then the older demographic is just photos and copy and CTAs. But I don't have enough data to share. Like, is that even working yet or not? Because we just started doing it.
Will give you some data.
But that's like one way that I just wanted to try it via email is like utilizing Nina's content and then her also being Gen Z and then sending it to the younger age group. And then in comparison, segmenting to the older where it's just photos, copy, and CTAs.
What about you, Amer?
I would actually go different from everybody else in reverse because we work with a luggage brand. And
Different and in reverse?
Huh?
different and in reverse?
Different, like in reverse, in a sense, where when everyone's saying is actually figure out, are you actually a multi-generational brand? Because I think a lot of people sometimes assume they fit into one bucket or multiple buckets. We work with a brand that sold, they called it the weekender luggage, where you have luggage with shelves in it, for 2 to 3 days type of stuff. Yeah. And when we started working with them, they swore their best customer base were millennials. When we sat down and started to look at data and who's shopping, how's buying, we found out it was 55 plus. For retirees that expendable income they use for golf trips, visiting grandkids, going down from New York to Florida for a weekend, like quick trips like that. And the conversion rate was 3 times X the millennials. So what we ended up doing is we sat down with them is like, hey, let's create a higher contrast on the websites. Let's increase the font sizes. There's like basics for an older generation.
The Walgreens model.
And it took off.
Yeah.
So you're saying basically it's actually a challenge saying most people aren't multi-generational. You're probably thinking this wrong.
Well, twofold. It's what Sean was talking about. Your experiences for different generations and different purposes needs to be different. Sure. You need to talk to them differently. But to get to that, I think you need to truthfully figure out, are you a multi-generational brand, and then build multi-generational.
Too many people are thinking the other way, where they just think they're multi-generational because a couple people have bought from there.
Because everyone thinks like, oh, my products are for everybody. I'm like, nah, not really. Usually there's a hero group or a hero segment.
You're right. There's ICP. Like, that's the age-old question of any business is, who is your ideal customer? And everyone's like, anybody who's like living.
Anyone who has a dog. It's like, well, no, not really.
Not really.
I'm going to mention one famous name that you guys absolutely love. Just don't do what JCPenney did and die with your audience.
Well, what did they do that's so bad?
They never captured new audiences. They aged out, and they never captured new users.
So you should still continue to figure out.
You have to, yeah.
Were you a whistleblower there too, or no?
I'm sorry?
That's where he was a whistleblower.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, Amer's a whistleblower, Sean, if you didn't know. So watch out.
Yeah.
Be careful what you tell me.
He'll blow your whistle.
I got receipts.
John, any last advice before we move to your game?
Yeah, so, talking through what with your great example and what you said too. So, we have the data. We do know we have a nice spread through four generations. The only way we really address it is our content marketing plan. It does try to hit on different pieces of content that we know resonates with that generation. So the reality is we have the older and the 50s and 60s demographic and 70s demographic that are customers. They're not going to get the Saratoga water spoof that we did, right? And that's okay though. It's still entertaining, but with that example is like, that's obviously going to appeal to the younger audiences. So just having a nice little mix of the two. But as you guys both give me examples of website, my brain's just going on, wow, you could really take this next level.
But why are you here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the answer is it's I don't think it's as clean cut as your example, which is like perfect, but I think we can definitely shape the journey.
Well, here's an interesting part, like with that, and goes back to your lovely statement of always saying lazy marketers. So when Sean said what they select, you could actually narrow down like how accurate is your paid media targeting. But then if you have these now different experiences, are you a marketer is going to say, okay, how do I need to talk on the website, in my ads, in my email to this age group, to this age group, to this age group, to these segments? Most marketers do not do that and will not do that. But I think that's the difference. You guys do a good job with that. And that's, I think, what
we've done that on the cohort dems. We've never done it by age per se, but like the target segments where the landing page, the entire journey through purchase is catered. It's interesting though, looking at age.
Yeah,
we've just never measured it that way.
Yeah,
interesting. I think one cool thing that we've been trying out and something we're like building into the product is like, if I'm coming from a specific ad, like if I'm coming from a Facebook ad versus like you're coming from a TikTok ad, and you can see the UTMs. Maybe if you're coming from a Facebook ad, you're older, and you don't need as big of a discount as I need coming from TikTok, right? So you can actually based off the
I
UTM
see
they're
what you're
coming,
saying.
like I only need 10%. Sorry, like that, like the Facebook person needs 10%, but I need 20%. So why are you giving, that Facebook person the same
discount?
I have a question for you, if you don't mind. And this is the thing that I think ticks me off about majority of marketers. The first thing you're in this business that everyone wants to do is say, let's do a pop-up as soon as you land on a website giving you X% off. One is generalized. Two, you might be giving 10, 20, 50% off without needing to give it. So how do you guys advise when to trigger the pop-up to retain a customer from bouncing?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, we're building into the product essentially, like using the data that we're seeing, like what I just said, essentially, like if they're coming from a specific UTM, if enough data is telling us that their conversion rate's at 6%, but if I come from UTM Y and my conversion's at 1%, I'm gonna see a different offer. So we're building that into the product. Right now it doesn't exist, but like I think it's cool to bring to build in. And secondly, yeah, like it's difficult to just generalize what offer you should be giving, but right now that's the only option you have in the market. So it's like A/B test 10, 15, 20, see which one works the best.
Yeah, but to me, it's like you walk into a store. Imagine walking into a store, into a Target, wherever, and they're like, here's 50%. Like right at the door.
Yeah.
Like they didn't even know.
It's a fair point.
Yeah.
We've created the consumer behavior where...
It's a very poor behavior. Yeah. Sean, do you have Facebook?
No.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
You don't even have a Facebook account.
I did when I was younger. I forgot the password. I've been logged in.
Isn't that wild?
Yeah.
You have Instagram?
Yeah, I use Instagram.
Okay, so Instagram,
Instagram,
TikTok,
YouTube.
Snap?
Yeah. No, I don't use Snapchat.
Now Snap, YouTube.
Snap is making a comeback with older audiences, and
don't know.
Pinterest with youngers.
I don't know. I've heard this before.
Snap's made a comeback many times and then not really done anything. There's a lot of places that we don't understand. All right, John. You want to explain the game? So John's got a game, Sean, and Amir, please look away.
So it's called Guess the Business. So I'm going to give the four of you guys hints. I have 6 hints. They're going to start off hard. They're going to get easier. You're just trying to guess the biz. Now, with the theme of the show, generational differences, this is going to hit that theme a little bit. If you know it, just scream it out loud. The hardest one. This brand became a cultural icon not because of what it served, but how it was served. It wasn't just a restaurant. It was a vibe that people either loved or loathed. Clue number 2. At its peak in 2007, the company was generating nearly $1 billion in system-wide revenue across 430 global locations. But as culture shifted and competitors evolved, its appeal started to fade, especially with younger audiences. No? Good guesses. Clue number 3. It was born in Florida in the early 80s, but its growth wasn't fueled by cuisine. It leaned heavily on a particular aesthetic, one that was intentionally provocative, extremely polarizing. Yep.
Ah.
As soon as you said provocative in restaurant, I
was like, oh, wow.
It was either Hooters or it was a strip club.
So a couple more clues. In March of this year, the brand's largest franchisee filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. Well, that was their largest franchisee. That bankrupt franchisee who was doing $92 million in revenue, they were down 40% sales-wise than they were a decade ago. Yeah, so in a decade, 40% drop in average revenue per place.
Does the Hooters Casino still exist? That's gone.
No, so they rebranded it. It's called, like, it's just the owl, the eyes and the, so whatever part of the logo that was. That's, so they, the dead giveaway was orange shorts and tight white tank top. The corporate, the main entity, they owned several of the locations themselves, and they're out of that business completely. So they're just a franchisor at this point.
I maybe been twice when I was younger.
They have good chicken wings.
Doesn't help me.
But the reality is this plays into the generation, right? We're talking about how JCPenney how they died with their customers. These guys didn't adapt, right? They just never did, and it became tasteless.
Like if you were like the C-suite at Hooters, like how would you have adapted the business to fit like?
So I think you have to. So obviously the boobs out and the flirtatious thing that doesn't work with a chunk of the newer generation, right? So I think you would have just had to. You would have had to slowly, not an immediate fix like they tried to do with a wardrobe change, but I think you would have just had to slowly make it less provocative, less sexy, less flirtatious. Why would people go there? So I think you have to lean in more on the personality because you just have to. I don't know if there's the exact path, but I think you'd have to just lean in past it. You have to grow out of that.
I would have R&D'd better wings, called it Hooters Wings, made it a sports bar wing feel, so people thought of it as wings in sports, like Buffalo Wild Wings.
Leaned into sports a lot more.
The thing is, I don't know if they still did it and they still went out of business. I don't know the full story, but I think they had the content to them was in the relation with the customer with the whole Hooters girl selection, and they had those calendars and stuff.
Calendars.
So they would select the Hooters Girl of the Year back in the day. I don't know if they stopped doing that. I don't know if that's put them on the map. I don't know where they played.
Oh, that was kind of back when Sports Illustrated still did it.
Yeah. Very similar to that.
That's when Dave Portnoy Barstool did Smoke Show.
It was all a different generation in that time. Like Baywatch was cool.
I mean, and that was like when you think about the magazines and everything. That was the TikTok of that time.
Yeah. So they're not completely done at this point. They're on life support.
I don't even know where the one exists.
I don't either. But if you go to one, they wear black jeans and zip-ups.
Oh wow, that's crazy. I didn't know that.
So you're really there for the food.
You're there for the chicken.
Do you know if COVID accelerated this?
COVID accelerated it for all restaurants.
I know,
right?
but
yes, there was a piece that obviously put the bigger franchise.
So it's generally the older crowd grew up and they lost interest in that kind of style of restaurant. To be like you and I, right? Like our age group. So I wouldn't go to Hooters.
I don't know the last time I went. Yeah.
And this is terrible, but I'd value the food more than the booth.
Yeah, so
I'd rather go for better food. I'd rather go somewhere with better food than to look at the.
So you got to think. So when it was successful and it worked, they then saw competition, right? There were a dozen, the Tilted Kilts of the world, where it was Twin Peaks, another great example, where they competed against them and took a lot of the market share, and so they're already bleeding and contracting in size. And then the generation loses the interest, and the new generation doesn't care about it at all.
Or strip joint gas stations that serve food, right, Brian?
True. Very true.
That's a competitor.
Yep. I know one.
I'll go. Huh? Nah.
So like some of these like franchising these brands, they were mall-driven brands because they would have
Hooters wasn't a mall thing.
Huh? It was always around malls.
I think there were a lot of they weren't in malls, but they were around.
Yeah. It was like you go to the mall with your friends and you're like, where are we gonna go eat?
No, that's fair.
Yeah.
The two malls I can think of both had one. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think also, I mean, no one's Uber Eatsing or DoorDashing Hooters.
No.
Yeah.
Because the food quality wasn't great.
Yeah, like no one.
We never went for the food quality.
Yeah. And like,
What'd you go for, Jimmy?
Just like whatever other 18-year-old male went there for, to look at some, right?
Breasts.
Yes, those. And
Not
that's
the
what
chicken.
it was. It was before like the other side of it. It's an interesting thing if you think about it. It was like, oh, I could go eat there. The food was okay. Like that was the kind of thing. The beer was good. Beer was good. It was cheap. They had a lot of happy hour deals.
Yeah.
okay.
I definitely remember going there for happy hour.
Yeah, I went there for trivia.
Yeah, they would do crazy happy hour deals, like a pitcher for like $2 or something like that, and that would be a good deal.
That's a dangerous combo, right? Like getting absolutely hammered,
Yeah,
and then every single like
but there was
all
nothing.
the lads are just chatting the waitress.
Yeah, but there was nothing.
Right?
Yeah,
Like-
and then you would hopefully tip really well,
Yeah.
all that stuff. That was kind of the
They probably
deal.
need
I'm sure there were a lot of dirtbags there.
Yeah.
That was an interesting
For
thing.
sure.
I feel old right now a little bit after this
Yeah,
conversation.
me too. Yeah.
It was a good one though.
Yeah, let's wrap it
Well, Sean, thank you for.
Dude, thanks for coming, man. This was good.
Thank you for guys having me.
Yeah,
Appreciate
dude,
it.
that was great. I think there was some good tacticals, but it's also just an eye opener. Like, I really feel like we talked about this a couple times over the pods, but like, I really feel like that understanding a generational unlock that's starting to occur in my head has been really powerful because everything is shifting. Just like as simple as website behavior from pop-ups to how CRO works, to how shipping and works, how even advertising, even email and SMS marketing work. All of that is different generationally. And I think what brands start to realize that the more they do, especially in direct-to-consumer, the more they can start having a competitive edge against things like that we're working on the internet.
Yeah.
So with that, guys, that's a wrap. Generational differences in online shopping behavior. Likes, comments, subscribe, and let us know what you think. Don't forget to subscribe at awesompod.com to be alerted and join our newsletter. And don't forget to check out Commerce Roundtable at commerceroundtable.com. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next pod.
Welcome to the Awesome Pod, where we talked a lot. E-com was the path that we walked a lot. But now the question is, will you subscribe or not?